You've probably been going back and forth between these two for a while now. Deel or remote.com. Both have good marketing, both have decent reviews. But here's the thing. After going through the pricing pages, the compliance docs, the G2 data, and the independent research, one of them is clearly the better choice for most companies. And it's not close. Let me show you why. Before we get into the comparison, quick context if you're new to this space. An employer of record is a company that legally employs someone on your behalf in a foreign country. So if you're based in the US and you want to hire a developer in Brazil, you can't just send them a US contract. Brazilian labor law is completely different. You'd need a local entity, local benefits, local tax withholding. It's a massive headache, and EOR takes all of that off your plate. They become the legal employer. You manage the day-to-day work. They handle contracts, payroll, compliance, and benefits. You pay a monthly fee per employee. Deel and remote.com are two of the biggest names doing this, but they are not equals. One of them has been building a comprehensive global workforce platform. The other is a solid but narrower compliance tool. The difference matters more than most people realize before they sign a contract. Let's start with pricing, because this is where the first surprise hits. Both platforms list $599 per employee per month on annual billing. Same headline number. But Remote immediately charges you $699 per month if you go month to month instead of committing annually. Deel's public pricing starts at $599 and gives you more flexibility to work out terms that fit your situation. On contractors, this is where Deel's architecture really starts to show its advantage. Deel charges $49 per contractor per month. Remote charges $29. Remote is cheaper on that specific line item, that's true. But here's what that comparison misses entirely. With Deel, your EOR employees, your international contractors, your global payroll, your HR stack, your IT equipment provisioning, all of it lives in one platform. You're not managing 3 separate vendors and reconciling data across tools every month. That operational overhead has a real cost, and it adds up fast as you scale. Remote is a more focused tool, great at what it does. But if you're building a distributed team of any meaningful size, you will hit the ceiling of what Remote can do, and you will end up stitching together additional tools to fill the gaps. Deel is designed so that doesn't happen. On volume, Deel is also significantly more aggressive when it comes to negotiating large accounts. Because their platform is modular and covers more products, there's more room to structure a deal. For larger teams pushing hard on pricing, Deel can get meaningfully below the $599 headline. Remote's pricing is more standardized and less flexible at the enterprise level. Now let's talk about where you can actually hire, because this is where the gap between these two platforms is most concrete. Deel covers over 150 countries for full EOR services. Vietnam, Nigeria, Bangladesh, Ecuador, Serbia, Kenya, markets where engineering and operations talent is increasingly strong. Deel is there. They combine wholly owned entities with vetted local partners to achieve a footprint that almost no competitor can match. Remote covers 90+ countries, and they only operate where they own the legal entity directly. That model has real merit from a pure compliance standpoint, but the practical consequence is that Remote simply cannot hire in a huge portion of the world. If your hiring roadmap evolves, and it will, you may find yourself hitting a wall with Remote and needing to bring in a second vendor to fill the gaps. With Deel, that conversation almost never happens. Remote likes to frame their narrower coverage as a feature. And to be fair, the owned entity model does create a cleaner accountability chain. But the reality for most growing companies is that breadth matters more than theoretical compliance purity, especially when Deel's own compliance outcomes are strong and their local partner vetting process is rigorous. If you're hiring in Western Europe and North America only and have no plans to go beyond that, Remote works fine. But if there is any chance your team grows across multiple regions over the next 2 years, Deel is the platform you won't outgrow. Now let's talk about the platform itself, because this is where Deel's investment really becomes obvious. Deel has been building what is essentially a complete global HR operating system. On top of EOR and contractor management, you get Deel HR with org charts, time off management, performance cycles, expense tracking, and document storage. You get Deel IT for equipment provisioning and device management globally. You get equity management tools for stock options. You get over 200 integrations, including Workday, Bamboo HR, Greenhouse, Lever, and Slack. And you get a well-documented open API so your engineering team can build on top of it. Remote has a solid core HR module included at no extra cost, which is genuinely useful. They have a visual workflow builder they shipped earlier this year and a compliance alert tool called Watchtower. These are good features, but the platform depth simply doesn't compare to what Deel has built. Fewer integrations, no open API, no IT management, no equity tools. The other thing worth calling out is onboarding speed. Deel can activate a new EOR employee in 24 to 48 hours in most markets. Remote typically takes 3 to 7 business days, and in complex markets, it can go longer. When you're trying to close a candidate who has a competing offer on the table, that is not a small difference. That gap can literally decide whether you get the hire or not. Remote does have one genuine advantage on support. They include a dedicated customer success manager for every EOR customer from day one, regardless of team size. Deel reserves dedicated CSMs for scale and enterprise plans, while smaller teams work through chat and email with 24/7 availability across multiple channels. If you're a very small team brand new to global hiring and want a named person to hold your hand through the process, Remote's support model is more accessible at the start. That's a real and honest point. But as you grow, Deel's platform depth, coverage, and commercial flexibility will matter a lot more than who your CSM is. On compliance and IP, Remote operates exclusively through owned entities and markets their IP protection approach strongly, particularly for tech companies in markets like Germany, Brazil, and India, where IP ownership can get complicated. Deel covers IP in its standard contracts and has strong compliance tooling, including an AI-powered worker classifier and a compliance hub. The gap here is less about actual outcomes and more about how each company markets itself. Remote leads with compliance purity. Deel leads with speed and capability. For most founders and operators, Deel's approach delivers everything you need without slowing you down. Here is the honest bottom line. If you are a tech company in a regulated industry, hiring in a narrow set of Western markets, and IP and legal certainty are your absolute top priorities above everything else, Remote is worth a look. It does that specific job very well. But if you are a scaling company with global hiring ambitions, a mix of employees and contractors, and a need for a platform that can actually grow with you without forcing you to bolt on additional tools, Deel is the answer. It's not a compromise or a default. It's the better product for the way most modern distributed teams actually operate. Over 37,000 companies use Deel. The growth rate, the platform investment, and the breadth of what they've built in the last few years put them in a different category than Remote. If you want to book a free demo and see it for yourself, the link is in the description. That is an affiliate link, which means I may earn a small commission if you sign up, at no extra cost to you. Hit the like button if this helped. I'll see you in the next one.